Welcome to i-TUTOR IAS Academy Biology NCERT series. Today we'll be discussing part 2 of chapter 16 Environmental Issues. In the last class we have studied wastewater management and today we'll be discussing from solid waste management. Solid waste. Solid waste refers to everything that goes out in trash. Municipal solid waste are waste from homes, offices, stores, schools, hospitals, etc. They're collected and disposed by the municipality. The municipal solid waste generally comprise of paper, food waste, plastics, glass, metals, rubber, leather, textile, etc. Burning reduces the volume of waste, although it is generally not burned to completion. And open dumps often serve as a breeding ground for rats and flies. Sanitary landfills are adopted as a substitute for burning dumps. In a sanitary landfill, waste are dumped in a depression or trench after compaction and covered with dirt daily. So, what is sanitary landfill? Sanitary landfill was adopted as a substitute for open dumping or burning. So, in sanitary landfill, what happens is the waste is dumped in a pit or a depression or a trench after compaction, after compressing it into a very small volume, and then it is covered with dirt every day. The landfill are also not really of a solution since the amount of garbage generation, especially in the metros, has increased so much that these sites are getting filled too. Also, there is danger of seepage of chemicals etc. from the landfills polluting the underground water. So landfills are also not much of a solution because now the waste generated is not in proportion with the land that is available, the trenches or the pits that is available to do the landfill. Another problem is the seepage of chemicals, the leaching of harmful chemicals into the groundwater and polluting the water resources. A solution to all this can only be in human beings becoming more sensitive to environmental issues. All waste that we generate can be categorized into three types: biodegradable, recyclable, the non-biodegradable waste. It is important that all garbage generated is sorted. So the only solution is that we become more sensitive to waste disposal and we become more careful about it. So we can categorize at the generation stage itself, we can categorize the solid waste into three: biodegradable, which can be decomposed naturally, and recyclable, that can be reused or it can be used in another manner, and non-biodegradable, which has to be treated properly. Case study of remedy for plastic waste. A plastic sack manufacturer in Bangalore has managed to find ideal solution to the ever increasing problem of accumulating plastic waste. Ahmad Khan, aged 57 years old, has been producing plastic sacks for 20 years. About 8 years ago, he realized that plastic waste was really a problem. Polyblend, a fine powder of recycled modified plastic, was developed by his company. This mixture is mixed with bitumen that is used to lay road. In collaboration with RV College of Engineering and the Bangalore City Corporation, Ahmad Khan proved that blends of polyblend and bitumen, when used to lay roads, enhance the bitumen's water repellent properties and help to increase the road life by factor of 3. The raw material for creating polyblend is the plastic film waste. So, against the price of 0.4 per kg, the rack pickers have been getting plastic waste to the rack pickers. The Khan offers ₹6 for the rack pickers. Hospital generated hazardous waste that contain disinfectants and other harmful chemicals and also pathogenic microorganisms. Such waste also require careful treatment and disposal. The use of incinerators is crucial for disposal of hospital waste. Irreparable computers and other electronic goods are known as electronic waste. So what are e-waste or electronic waste? These are irreparable computers or other electronic goods that become waste. E-waste are buried in landfills or incinerated. So there are two ways: either they are buried in landfills or they are incinerated. Over half of the e-waste generated in the developed world are exported to developing countries, mainly China, India, and Pakistan, where metals like copper, iron, silicon, nickel, and gold are recovered during recycling process. Unlike developed countries, which have specifically built facilities for recycling of e-wastes, recycling in developing countries often involves manual participation, thus exposing workers to toxic substances present in e-wastes. Eventually, recycling is the only solution for treatment of e-waste produces provided it is carried out in an environmentally friendly manner. Moving on, agrochemicals and their effects. In the wake of green revolution, use of inorganic fertilizers and pesticides has increased manifold for enhancing crop production. Pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, etc., are being increasingly used. These incidentally are also toxic to non-target organisms that are important components of the soil ecosystem. Do you think that this can be magnified in the terrestrial ecosystem? We know that the addition of increasing amount of artificial fertilizer can do what it do to the aquatic ecosystem vis-a-vis the eutrophication. The current problem in agriculture are therefore extremely grave. Case study of organic farming. Integrated organic farming is a cyclical zero waste procedure where waste products from one process are cycled in as nutrients for the other process. So what is integrated organic farming? It is a cyclic zero waste procedure where waste product from one process is cycled as a nutrient for the other process. This allows for the maximum utilization of the resources and increases the efficiency of production. We are seeing a case study of Ramchandar Dagar. So he's a farmer in Sonipat, Haryana, and he's doing integrated organic farming. He includes beekeeping, dairy management, water harvesting, composting, and agriculture in a chain of process with the support of each other and allows an extremely economical and sustainable venture. There is no need to use the chemical fertilizer for the crops, as cattle excreta or cow dung are used as manure. Crop waste are used to create compost, which can be used as a natural fertilizer or can be that can be used to generate the natural gas for satisfying the energy needs of the farm. Enthusiastic about spreading the information and help on the practice of integrated organic farming, Daga created Haryana Kisan Welfare Club with a current membership of 5,000 farmers. Moving on to our next topic, radioactive waste. Initially, nuclear energy was hailed as a non-polluting way of generating electricity. Later on, it was realized that the use of nuclear energy has two serious inherent problems within it. The first one is accidental leakage, as similar to the one that occurred in the 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl incidents. And the second is the safe disposal of the radioactive wastes. Radiation that is given off by the nuclear waste is extremely damaging to biological organisms because it causes mutations at the very high rate. At high doses, nuclear radiation is lethal, but at lower doses, it creates various disorders. The most frequent of being is the most frequent and common one being cancer. Therefore, nuclear waste is extremely potent pollutant and has to be dealt with utmost caution. It has been recommended that storage of nuclear waste after the pre-treatment should be done in suitably shielded containers buried within the rock about 500 meters deep below the Earth's surface. So though nuclear energy was hailed as a non-polluting way of generating electricity in the beginning, it also had two inherent problems mainly. It has its own issues and problems, and there are very serious two inherent problems. One being the accidental leakage. The example like the similar to the one that happened in 3 Mile Island and or Chernobyl incident that happened. And the second issue is with the safe disposal of these radioactive wastes, because these radioactive wastes, when in higher quantity, they are lethal, it causes death. But in lower quantities, like in lower doses, these radiating waste will create various disorder because of the mutation that it is able to create in living organisms. So one way of disposal is that it has to be properly treated. After that, it has to be put in a shield container which has to be buried under the rock, which is 500 meters deep below the Earth's surface. Moving on, greenhouse effect and global warming. The greenhouse effect is naturally occurring phenomena that is responsible for heating of Earth's surface and atmosphere. You will be surprised to know that without greenhouse effect, the average temperature at the surface of Earth would have been chilly of it is 18 degrees Celsius rather than the present average of 15 degrees Celsius. In order to understand the greenhouse effect, it is necessary to know the fate of energy of sunlight that reaches the outermost atmosphere. Clouds and gases reflect about 1/4 of the incoming solar radiation and absorb some of it, but almost half of the incoming solar radiation falls on the Earth's surface. Earth's surface will heat it, while a small portion is reflected back. Earth's surface re-emits the heat in the form of infrared radiation, but part of it does not escape into the space as the atmospheric gases absorb it. The atmospheric gases like carbon dioxide, methane will absorb a major fraction of it. So what will happen when the sunlight fall on the outermost atmosphere, that is given in this diagram. Greenhouse gases absorb the infrared long wave radiation from the Earth and emit it again towards the Earth. The cycle continues till the Earth's surface has no more long wave radiation to emit. So this is how the sunlight energy which falls on the outermost atmosphere, this is what happened to it. The clouds and all will reflect 1/4 of the incoming solar radiation, and following will fall on the Earth's surface. The Earth's surface will be heated by the incoming solar radiation. It will generate long wave solar radiation which will be absorbed by the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and methane, and these greenhouse gases will reflect it back. It will absorb and reflect it again emit it towards the Earth. So this cycle continues till no more long wave radiation is left. Moving on, the molecules of these gases radiate heat energy, and a major part of which comes to the Earth's surface, thus heating up once again. This cycle is repeated many times. The above mentioned gases like carbon dioxide and methane are commonly known as greenhouse gases because they are responsible for the greenhouse effect. So this is a relative contribution of greenhouse gases, various greenhouse gases to the total global warming. So once this heating or the greenhouse effect becomes more, it leads to heating of the Earth. So that is what we are going to discuss in the next session, that is global warming. Increase in the level of greenhouse gases has led to considerable heating of Earth, leading to global warming. During the past century, the temperature of Earth has increased 0.6 degrees Celsius, most of it during the last 3 decades. Scientists believe that this rise in temperature is leading to deleterious changes in the environment and resulting in odd climatic changes like El Nino effect, thus leading to increased melting of polar ice caps and also other places like the Himalayan snow caps. Over the years, this will result in a rise in sea level that can submerge many coastal areas. However, how can we control this harmful phenomena of global warming? The measures include cutting down use of fossil fuels, improving the efficiency of energy usage, reducing deforestation, planting more trees, and slowing down the growth of human population. International initiatives are being taken to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Moving on, ozone depletion in the stratosphere. You have learned in your previous classes about bad ozone formed at the lower atmosphere, that is at the troposphere, that harms plants and animals. So we have learned in your previous chemistry classes and all about the bad ozone that is formed in the lower atmosphere, that is troposphere, and it harms the plants and animals. But there is also a good ozone that is found in the upper part of the atmosphere called at the stratosphere. So at the stratosphere, there is good ozone. So ozone that is present in the lower part, that is at the troposphere, is known as bad ozone, and there is good ozone which is present at the the upper part of the atmosphere called stratosphere, and it acts as a shield absorbing ultraviolet radiation from the sun. So why is it called good ozone in the stratosphere? Because it acts as a shield to the UV radiation from the sun. The UV radiation are highly injurious to living organisms, since DNA and protein of the living organisms preferentially absorb UV rays, and its high energy break the chemical bond within these molecules. So why is UV radiation harmful to living organism? It's because DNA and the protein molecules will have a preferential absorption tendency to the UV rays, and these rays are high energy radiations that has the capacity, and it will break capacity to break the chemical bond within these molecule. The thickness of the ozone in a column of air from the ground to the top of the atmosphere is measured in terms of Dobson unit. Ozone gas is continuously formed by the action of UV rays on molecular oxygen, and it is also continuously degraded into molecular oxygen in the stratosphere. There should be a balance between the production and degradation of ozone in the atmosphere. Of the late, the balance has been disrupted due to enhancement of ozone degradation by CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons. Chlorofluorocarbons find wide range of application as a refrigerant. CFCs discharged in the lower part of the atmosphere move upwards and reach stratosphere. In the stratosphere, UV rays act on them and it releases chlorine from these. Chlorine atoms are released from the CFCs. Chlorine degrades ozone, releasing molecular oxygen. With these atoms acting merely as catalysts, chlorine atoms are not consumed in the reaction. So hence whatever CFC are added to the atmosphere, they are permanent and continue to affect the ozone levels. Although the ozone depletion is occurring widely in the atmosphere, the depletion is particularly marked over the Antarctic region. This has resulted in the formation of a large area of thinned ozone layer called ozone hole. So a ozone hole is the area above Antarctica shown in the purple color, where the ozone layer is the thinnest. Ozone thickness is given in Dobson unit, as we have seen earlier, and see carefully the scale shown in the color violet to red. The ozone hole over Antarctica develops every year between late August and early October. So this is the picture representation of an ozone hole that is formed above the that is formed at the stratosphere of the Antarctica. So we have seen the ozone gas is continuously formed by the UV rays, and it is continuously degraded. So this production and degradation is already happening in the stratosphere, and there is a balance between this production and degradation. But the recent problem is due to the presence of chlorofluorocarbon. As the UV rays act on these chlorofluorocarbons, the chlorine atoms are released, and these chlorine atoms will act as a catalyst for the degradation of the ozone molecule into molecular oxygen. Thus, since it is acting only as a catalyst and it is not consumed in the reaction, the chlorine atom is not consumed in the reaction, so it will remain, whatever CFC is added to the atmosphere, it will remain in the stratosphere forever as a permanent thing. So it will continue to affect the ozone levels, degrading the ozone layer at the stratosphere. Moving on. UV radiation of wavelength shorter than UVB are almost completely absorbed by the Earth's atmosphere, given that ozone layer is intact. But UVB damages DNA and mutation may occur. It causes aging of skin, damage skin cells, and causes various types of skin cancer. In human eye, cornea absorbs UVB radiation, and a high dose of UVB causes inflammation of cornea called snow blindness, cataract, etc. So these are the side effects of absorbing UVB radiation by our cornea: snow blindness, cataracts, etc. And other side effects or other problems include faster aging of the skin, then it damages the skin cells, and it causes various skin cancers. Such exposure are permanent damage to the cornea. So the sun blindness, snow blindness and all is a permanent damage to the cornea. Recognizing the deleterious effect of ozone depletion in an international treaty known as Montreal Protocol. This is important. Take a note of it. International treaty known as Montreal Protocol was signed at Montreal, Canada in 1987, and it became effective from 1989 to control the emission of ozone depleting substances. Subsequently, many more efforts have been made and protocols have been laid down, definite roadmaps separatively for developed and developing countries for reducing emission of CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, and other ozone depleting chemicals. So Montreal Protocol is important and is a major initiative that is taken at the degradation by improper resource utilization and maintenance. The degradation of natural resources can occur not just by action of pollutants, but also by improper resource utilization practices. Soil erosion and desertification are best two examples of this improper resource utilization and practices. The development of fertile soil takes centuries, but it can be removed very easily due to human activities like overcultivation, unrestricted grazing, deforestation, and poor irrigation practices, resulting in arid patches of land. Where large barren patches extend and meet over time, a desert is created. Internationally, it has been recognized that desertification is a major problem nowadays, particularly due to increased urbanization. Waterlogging and salinity. Irrigation without proper drainage of water leads to waterlogging in the soil. Besides affecting the crops, waterlogging draws salt to the surface of the soil. Then the salt is deposited as a thin crust on the land surface or start collecting at the roots of the plant. Thus, increased salt content is inimical to the growth of crops and is extremely damaging to the agriculture. Waterlogging and soil salinity are some of the problems that have come in wake of green revolution. So, improper usage also causes issues. The main two issues are soil erosion and desertification, because soil is an very important natural resource and it takes centuries to form. It cannot be formed in 1 or 2 years. It takes centuries to form. So a loss of soil to soil erosion will lead to degradation of land. Another issue is with the desertification, for which now the increased rate of desertification, the major reason is increased urbanization. And waterlogging and soil salinity are also related. Increased water irrigation with poor drainage lead to waterlogging, which will lead to the accumulation of salt on the surface of soil as well as at the root of the soil, and it affects the soil quality as well as the agriculture is also damaged. Moving on, deforestation. Deforestation is a conversion of forested areas into non-forested ones. So this simple definition, what is deforestation? Deforestation is a conversion of forested area to non-forested ones. According to an estimate, Almost 40% of forests have been lost in the tropics, compared to only 1% in the temperate region. The present scenario of deforestation is particularly grim in India. At the beginning of 20th century, forest covered about 30% of the land in India. By the end of the century, it shrunk to 19%, whereas National Forest Policy of India has recommended for 33% of forest cover for plains and 67% for the fields. So, in case of India, in the beginning of 20th century, our forest cover was 30%, but now it's shrunk to just 19%. But according to our National Forest Policy, India is recommended to have 33% of forest cover for the plains and 67% for the hills. How does deforestation occur? A number of human activities contribute to it. One major reason is conversion of forests to agricultural land so as to feed the growing human population. Trees are axed for timber, firewood, cattle ranching, and for several other purposes. Slash and burn agriculture, commonly known as jhum cultivation in the northeastern states of India, has also contributed to deforestation. In slash and burn agriculture, the farmers cut down the trees of the forest and burn the plant remains. The ash is used as a fertilizer and the land is then used for farming or cattle grazing. After cultivation, the area is left for several years so as to allow its recovery. Farmers then move on to the other areas and repeat this process. In the earlier days, when the jhum cultivation was in prevalence, enough time gap was given to such a land to the land to become recovered from the effect of cultivation. With increasing population and repeated cultivation, this recovery phase is done with and that result in deforestation. What are the consequences of deforestation? One major effect is enhanced carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere because trees could hold a lot of carbon in their biomass, which should hold are lost with deforestation. So, one of the major consequences of deforestation is the increased carbon dioxide concentration because trees are able to hold a large amount of carbon in their biomass. So, this is lost to the atmosphere back during deforestation. Deforestation also causes loss of biodiversity due to habitat destruction. It disrupts the hydrological cycle, causes soil erosion, and may lead to desertification in extreme cases. So, reforestation is a solution. What is reforestation? Reforestation is the process of restoring a forest that once existed but was removed at some point of time in the past. Reforestation may occur naturally in a deforested area. However, we can speed up this process by planting trees with due consideration to the biodiversity that existed earlier in that area. Moving on, now let's see some case studies of people's participation in conservation of forest. People's participation has been a long history in India. In 1931, the king of Jodhpur in Rajasthan asked one of his ministers to arrange wood for constructing a new palace. The minister and workers went to a forest near village inhabited by the Vaishnavis to cut down trees. The Vaishnav community is known for its peaceful coexistence with nature. The efforts to cut down trees by the king was thwarted by Vaishnavis. A Vaishnav woman named Amrita Devi showed exemplary courage by hugging a tree and daring king's men to cut her first before cutting the tree. The tree mattered much more than her life to her. Sadly, king's men did not heed her pleas and cut down the trees along with Amrita Devi. Her three daughters and hundreds of other Vaishnavas followed her and thus lost their lives in saving trees. Nowhere in history do we find a commitment of this magnitude when human beings sacrifice their lives for the cause of environment. The government of India has recently instituted Amrita Devi Vaishnavi Wildlife Protection Award for the individuals or communities from rural areas that have shown extraordinary courage and dedication in protecting wildlife. You may have heard of Chipko movement in Garhwal Himalayas. In 1974, local women showed enormous bravery in protecting trees from acts of contractors by hugging them. People all over the world have acclaimed the Chipko movement. Thus, realizing the significance of participation by local communities, the Government of India in 1980s has introduced a concept of joint forest management so as to work closely with the local communities for protecting and managing the forest. In return for their services to the forest, the communities get benefit of various forest products like fruits, gum, rubber, medicine, etc. And thus forests can be conserved in a sustainable manner. That's all about chapter 16. Thank you for watching. For more related contents, do like, share and subscribe.